is indirect realism? Indirect realism is a theory where, like direct realism, the external world consists of mind-independent objects that occupy public space, but we do not perceive directly. Instead, these physical objects cause us to perceive sense data directly. Sense data represents physical objects. They are private, personal, and accessible only by yourself. Philosopher John Locke argues that all physical objects have qualities that are measurable and have a real, tangible existence independent of our minds, like size, speed, amount, shape, and so on. Also, the senses often work together to convey these qualities. These are called primary qualities. At the same time, there are other qualities that cause us to perceive something. These qualities, called secondary qualities, are often immeasurable and do not exist in the object themselves. There are many arguments supporting indirect realism, and one of them, put forward by Locke, outlines that the involuntary nature of our senses shows that the external world exists. He argues that if we put our hand in the fire, we will inevitably feel the pain, regardless of choice. Also, senses often confirm each other to convey the external world, such as when you write on paper, and words don't appear just because of visual ideas in your mind. After words are written on paper, it is not possible to erase them just by willing them to disappear. This shows that the external world is not just imagination. Another philosopher, Russell, argues that the existence of the external world is the best hypothesis, because even though complete proof is beyond us, it is reasonable to believe in the external world, because this explains the existence of sense data and why they appear in regular and predictable ways. Believing in the existence of independent objects can explain many different phenomena, such as apples rotting away or fire diminishing. However, some issues have been brought to light by various philosophers, and just like every philosophical theory, indirect realism has its own flaws. For example, the theory that all we directly perceive are representations of reality in our minds has put forward a skeptical question. What is the external world really like? Primary qualities may be measurable, but they are not guaranteed to be objective. We cannot know what the real world is like unless we gain access to it. And according to indirect realists, this seems to be impossible. The second question that it puts forward is whether mind-independent objects exist at all. Descartes argues that our sense data could be caused by something entirely different from what we would normally think it is. Russell does not completely reject the idea of the external world being nothing but a dream, but he thinks we have very good reasons to reject it, because we all perceive an object to be more or less similar. Berkeley, meanwhile, argues that ideas gained through different senses are different sorts of ideas. For example, the sight of a cube is nothing similar to the feel of it. While indirect realism is certainly a good and valid theory, it has its own flaws and definitely not perfect. The answer to this question will never ever be definitively given. So, just like every other philosophical theory, believe at your own risk.